Hi, guys. Welcome back to Project India Adoption. Thank you again for joining. And thank you so much for all your love and all your support. We do appreciate that. Yeah, as you know, Julia and I started this Project India Adoption, a few months ago. And under this project, we are creating video content, kind of a step-by-step guide to help PAP understand the process of adoption from India to US. So, but stay tuned and subscribe because soon we're going to go beyond the process. We're going to talk about post-adoption challenges. We have interviewed a lot of parents and talked about that. So I hope that information will also be helpful for parents out there. And for today, without any further ado, let's get started. Namaskar, everyone. Welcome back to Project India Adoption. And I'm with Julia. We're going to do the fourth part of our series. Yes. Julia, what are we going to talk about today?
So we're going to talk about what the dossier is, why you need it, and what is in it, and how to collect it over time, and when you're supposed to get it sent and everything.
Okay. So just before we start, what is dossier?
So the dossier is the whole collection of your legal documents that are required for you to finish the adoption, and they all go to court. They all get notarized and apostilled and all sent as soon as you match with a child and sign the paper saying that you are going to match with that you're accepting the child. Then all of this is sent so they can then apply for the rest of the process and go to court, and all this will be scrutinized in court.
Yeah, so. I think it was a long list, what I remember.
Yes.
So I think we can also talk about the tips of how to organize and what to collect when, because I can understand when I looked at the list, it was so overwhelming. I mean,
yes.
So we will also try to give more tips of what and how, where to get what from and how to organize. Okay. Yeah. All yours, Julia, then.
Okay. Well, great. Well, first part of the dossier is in two parts. Okay. After you've already registered with CARA, you did that by doing part of the dossier, right? And so hopefully you didn't put dates on anything except for the person notarizing them. Yeah. So that will be in your dossier as well. And all of them, once you have everything collected, you will get them all notarized and then all apostilled. Now it's important to get them all notarized around the same time, except for that stack that you already had to do. Because they're going to be looking at the dates of those notaries. The court wants them to be at least a year. All the documents have to be no less than a year old when they get to court, or you'll have to redo them. Oh, wow. But also, they get very picky.
We're talking about Indian court here, right?
Yes.
Just Indian that we all understand.
Yes. Okay. Also, they can get really picky about the license expiry date of the notary.
Right.
So you want somebody that has at least a year or two on their stamp that says when it expires. If you get something notarized and it expires like in 6 months, you're going to have to get it done again.
Okay. So very good point.
It's really important.
Really important to be sure. Ask your notary. Do you have it at least for a year and a half?
Yes, exactly. And
but anyways, a year at least. A year,
yeah. Right. And then also, notaries are expensive. So places like your bank, or maybe you may have somebody that you know, or somebody that you work with, like maybe in HR, they may have notaries there. And so that won't cost you anything.
Okay, very good point. Because in India, many people are authorized to do notary. It's just not the advocate. Right. And in India, it's much cheaper, of course, compared to here. I mean, some bank employees or government employees are able to do it. Yes. And they have stamp at home as well. Do we have the same thing in the US?
Yeah. So usually the banks have people that do it. It has to be a bank that you have an account at, obviously. Yeah. And then you may have a friend that does it. You can ask your social worker or your agency. Sometimes they'll do it. Then they may charge a fee if you're expecting them to do your whole dossier. But you have to be there to notarize something with your signature. So if it's an out-of-state agency, it's not going to work.
Right.
And also, you may have your HR department. Now, usually they're okay with doing one or two, but if you bring in a stack like this, they may not be okay with it.
Yes, I know. I went to bank recently to get like only 2 pages notarized. And the process or the paperwork they had to do to get that done was a lot. Yeah. So I did discuss with them, hey guys, if I come with this much paperwork, will you do it? And they were like, yeah, it's for a good cause, so we will do it, and it's free.
Right.
But
yeah,
make sure that your bank, ask them.
yes,
Bank of America does it. Chase, as you mentioned last time, does it.
yeah,
UPS, FedEx, if you need something urgently and the
yeah,
bank is not open, that's another good place to go to, of course,
yeah,
for a fee. But
yeah.
do
And they'll
ask
charge per
around.
signature.
Right.
They'll charge per notary document.
And this is every page to be notarized, right?
Well, every document.
Every
Yeah, every
document.
document.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing you can do to speed it up ahead of
Yeah.
time, instead of taking a lot of the notary's time up, if you're getting it
Uh-huh.
done for free,
Yeah.
what we do is we'll go to the bank and be like, hey, can you give me your business card? And I'm going to come in at a certain time and I'll call to make sure you're there. Is that okay?
Right.
Because it may take
Right.
like an hour.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll ask him, can we fill in all the stuff for you? Like your
Right.
obviously not
Exactly.
your signature or your stamp, but it's
Right.
like his name and the dates and everything.
True.
Then you can have that all done ahead of time, and it'll
Yes.
really save a lot of time.
Good tip. Yes. Also for the bank, I when I saw
Yes.
her just completing those 2 pages for me, I
Yeah.
was overwhelmed. I was like, oh my God, if I come with the book,
Right.
what is going to happen?
Yeah, it's gonna be an hour or two.
Yeah.
So
So
anything
that's
you can
good.
do, and they appreciate it. I mean, they really
Yeah.
don't mind. Usually, I
Yeah.
mean, it makes their
But
day go by too.
it's a
But
relationship, right? So if you're able
yes,
to do something in advance and it makes their life a little bit easier because they're helping
yeah,
you,
yeah,
that's great. Okay,
yeah.
very good tip, Julia. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So then after that, you will have to apostille everything else, everything as well. And that means going to the Secretary of State.
This is what I don't
Now,
understand. What is apostle?
yes.
Because I've never done it in India, so I have no idea what it means.
Yeah. So basically it's notarizing the notary.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
basically it's the
okay.
state saying, okay, this has been notarized, and
Uh-huh.
the Secretary of State is representing the state and saying, yes, we are officiating or notarizing
Uh-huh.
this notary.
Okay.
So it's just another level, and it's required.
Yeah.
Now you have to make sure you tell them it's for adoption, because a lot of states will do a cap, because it
Okay.
could be anywhere from $2 to $10 to $20 a document. And for adoptions, some states go, okay, up to $100. We'll just give us $100 and we'll do everything. Like Texas does that.
Understood.
Some states don't do that.
Okay.
But in some states
Does
only
Texas
charge
does it?
$2 a ton. Yeah, Texas does have a cap.
Okay,
I
that's
believe
good.
it's $100.
Okay.
But there were other states that don't. I mean, I
Right.
don't remember which state, but somebody's like, yeah, it was $1,000 to apostille our thing. I was like, oh my God.
Wow. Yeah, that's of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I might have to do it few times. Sometimes it's like, what
Yeah,
we
you
have
may have to get
discussed in the
something
last
done.
home study video as well.
Yeah. The other thing, look, and it's all about time, right? So if it's not closed due to COVID or something like that, it's best if you can just drive to the Secretary of State and do a walk-in.
Yeah.
Well, you'll just fill out the form, you'll stand there, it'll take them 20 minutes or whatever, and then I'll hand it over to you.
Okay.
Otherwise, you mail it in, which is a little nerve-wracking, all those original documents being mailed in.
True. Yeah, definitely.
And it could be a couple weeks.
You don't want to lose them before you send it to India, basically.
Yes, exactly. And I don't know if it's actually lost them, but it's still nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I know.
But that could take a couple weeks too.
Right.
So sometimes they do express service, sometimes they don't. So, this is the whole thing. And this is you hurry up and do everything as fast as possible. Then you're waiting on somebody else. Right.
Yeah,
so if you can hurry, and then do hurry. Because because this point you're already matched and you're like, I want to get this child. I want to meet my child. Right. So anything you can do to speed it up is helpful.
I agree. Yes.
So once you have all that, you will make copies of that. Now it's best to copy usually your agency will require 3 or 4 copies, and you'll want to copy for yourself.
Okay.
So copy everything before you get them apostilled, because when they apostille everything, every document will get a staple to the apostle. Okay. So copying that is kind of a pain in the butt, because you gotta hold it down.
You have to open and then again staple.
Yeah.
Such a small thing, but it can.
Yes. It's a pain.
Yeah, it can be very tiring. So yes, I think organization is such a big part of the whole process from the day one when you do the documents. I feel I'm very organized, and same is for my husband as well. Like sometimes too much.
It's better than not, though.
But, I completely agree. Being organized with your documents and keeping a copy of everything, and keeping maybe saving it on your computer and then on a hard disk as a PDF scanned, so that you're all set if you need anything last minute. then you're
right.
good to
Yeah.
good
And they're going to want originals of everything as much as possible.
Right.
So like your birth certificate, wedding certificate, and you can
Exactly.
order those.
Yeah.
So it's good just like to order those right away so you have extra, because
Yeah.
you're not getting those documents back.
Yeah.
And if something gets lost, you got to go, oh, okay, I have one. I'll send it real quick, instead of, oh, I got to order one. And you know, you can get things expedited, but then that's another cost.
Exactly.
Right. Versus like $10 to get a wedding certificate in a week versus I need it tomorrow for $50.
Yes.
You know, it adds up.
Yeah. I agree.
So
I agree.
yeah. So you just want to be as organized and have duplicates
correct.
and everything in order.
And I'm thinking of people who were not born in US. I mean, US citizen, but not born here. Like people like me, for example.
Yes.
That just adds to the complexity, because you're getting this original from your home country.
Right. Yeah. And some of them, like if you're from India, they usually make an exception. I'm not sure about other countries, but what we do is like, we actually have my husband's original birth certificate.
Yes.
And it's this really big thing. And I'm like, I'm not sending this. So
I know.
there's one, that's it. And getting another one will be really difficult. So
exactly. It's not easy. No.
Yeah, it's not easy. So they will allow you, especially if it's an Indian birth certificate, they will allow you to attach a true copy statement, and you can sign that and just make a copy of it.
Yeah.
And some documents they allow you to, but it's best to get, if you have originals, it's best to get them. So you just you never know what the judge is going to do. Some judges don't care, and other judges are like, well, I don't know. I don't like this one document. Like,
wow. Okay.
Please.
You never know.
So,
with judges, as we said, they're the ultimate authority in India.
Yes.
So if they say no, no one can basically convince them otherwise.
Yes, exactly.
So just comply.
Yes, exactly.
Which sounds sad, but that's how it is. That's a reality. So
it is. I mean, there's, like I said, you'll make copies, and always keep a copy with you, because I definitely say when you do eventually travel, you should bring a copy with you, because just somebody may say in some office, well, I'm not going to give you the passport because I don't see this one thing. And you're like, you don't need it. Well, I need it. So, okay, fine. Here it is. You know, someone might not really need it, but they want it. So, or sometimes rules change and it doesn't filter down to the person that's in front of you asking you for something. So that happens all the time. So,
I agree.
The one thing to remember is sign everything and type your name out the same way on every document. And just use it. Don't be like doctor here and not doctor there. Like use your name, you know. It's not really, they don't really care about your titles.
Right. Yeah, in India, I mean, you get an impression that they might care about your titles, but perhaps not for this
right, because
situation.
the one thing is like, it's not going to be on your passport as a doctor. It's not going to be on your ID as a doctor. So then it'll be like, well, what's this? And you're like,
right.
What and that why is. Well, it doesn't match.
Good point. I wouldn't have
everything
thought
about it.
Everything has to match. It has to match. And every document should try to be as consistent as possible when it comes to how you write things.
Yeah. And I wouldn't put a date on anything. Let the notary date be the only date, because documents at court, they don't want them to be more than a year old.
Right.
So, you know, and then you're going to get these at different times. So keep them all together. And at the very last minute, when you're ready to send, then notary and apostille. So it's all the same dates as late as possible, because you don't know when you're going to go to court.
Got it.
It's supposed to be fast, but not always.
Okay. So that, I mean, as someone who hasn't started the process, just to understand this. So when you just start the process, you are now collecting part 1 of your dossier, which is for your home study, which doesn't need to be notarized, and you will send it to?
It will need to be notarized.
It will need to be.
You're doing it for your home study, but it's also going to your place agency to register for CARA. Okay. And those have to be notarized.
Okay. So
it's basically the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then part 2 of your dossier. So once you're registered with CARA, your home study is done now, the visits are done. Now you're basically approved by CARA. That's going to be the next step, right?
Yes.
Did your I-800 with USCIS.
Yes.
And then now, at what point would you start collecting the second, so to say, the bulk of your...
Right. So this part is... it depends on when you think you're actually going to be matched. Like if you are in the 2-year wait for a healthy child, there's no point in doing it, right? Not right away, because it's not going to be sent until you've accepted a match, right? So if you are going in with I see a kid on the list, or I've heard of a kid on the list that I want to match with, then you're going to do it as soon as possible, right? If you're going off special needs list, then you could probably start, because it depends on the level of needs, right? And what's there. If once you are approved, you can log in and see the kids and everything. And if you think you're going to be matched soon, then start. But if you're in that long wait for a healthy child, then I wouldn't do it right away.
Understood. So would you know when you're closer to matching?
Approximately.
So at least, yeah. I mean, a year is a long time, of course.
Right.
So you will have some idea, and then your agency will be able to tell you now.
So
collecting
it used to be, up until very recently, you could call Cara with your registration number, and they could say your 231 place in line, and you can watch the numbers. You could also say, okay, what Cara was doing was saying, right now we're matching people in who signed up for Maharashtra with, the last couple people were March 30th, 2018. That's when they registered. So you can go, okay, I've got a while to go, right? You can watch. They're not doing as much anymore, and agencies are trying to get the information. Hopefully that'll change. But you can also, in the groups, if you're in the groups, you can gauge that. You can say, someone said, oh, I just got my healthy match. You go, okay, when were you registered?
That's a good point.
And you can gauge.
I think in your group, you also keep that timeline document.
Yes.
Which is very helpful.
And
I feel that it also helps you to gauge a little bit of how close you're going to get.
Yes.
Or you are.
Yes.
So that's very helpful.
By what state and by what need, everything. And so, it's really helpful for people to gauge that. So you'll have an idea within a few months, I would say.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't start right away if you're waiting for a healthy match, because you're just going to do them over again. So and if that, if you are waiting for a healthy match, you realize you're going to have to do the medical exam again and all that, because your doctors will date that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, few things you will have to do again anyways. So what we talked about in home study, the documents you have, because average time when we say it's 2 years, so it means some things have to be repeated, which is your medical. Your home study.
Your home study had to be updated.
Updated, basically. That update has to be done. Or what else has to be done?
I believe
finances.
Yeah, the finances, because if you pass a tax year, then you'll have to put your new tax returns in.
Correct.
I think you can just get an update on the psychological evaluation, or just a letter saying that everything's still.
You're still psychologically stable.
You're still stable.
I mean, even though you have been through this process, and we have tested your patience.
Yes.
Are you still stable?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. But let's just go through the list. So all the stuff that you already did will be included. And you will have an affidavit of the dossier, basically listing everything that is there. And you should tailor it for you. Like, there's like a list your agency will give you, and it'll say like, oh, if you're single, you need this. If you're not single, don't put that on there. Those kind of things. And really that's for organization to show the advocate, like, hey, I've got everything. So, and just keep it in that order. And even that has to be notarized and apostille, like just everything does. Right. So, and then there'll be the adoption petition. It's basically a paragraph of you saying why you want to adopt from India. Just kind of talk yourself up there and say how much you love India.
This is going to the court as well, right? So this is kind of maybe telling Indian authorities of why. Yeah. And your agency will give you basically a form for all of this stuff, but just make it, a little personal, and you can, don't make it really lengthy, but make it very personal. Why you want to do this. And I've fallen in love with this child that I've matched with, those kind of things. Right. And I want to give her the best life possible, that kind of thing. Yeah.
I have the home study, and the home stay agency will notarize it and everything for you. And then you'll just go get it apostilled. And they'll include the agency's license and all that stuff. And if your home study is not Hague accredited to work with India, your placing agency is, but your home study isn't, and they'll just have to include a letter from your placing agency saying that this is a valid home study. And that's not a big issue. It's just something that has to be done.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong here, but what I understood was agency license also matters at this point.
It has to be included. It just has to be proof that they are Hague accredited to work with India. So that matters. If
the duration, I meant that if it's going to expire in next whatever months, that matters, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, sometimes it does happen that their license lapse.
Exactly. Or
And
is
you're
about
stuck.
to expire and then you're
Yeah,
stuck. This is what I've heard.
right.
Again, I
Yeah,
could be
it
really
has
wrong
happened.
because I don't know
And
for
it will
sure.
cause a delay as long as they get in and get their license reinstated. It's not an issue. It's just a time issue, which sucks. But it has happened where agencies have not continued, and then you have to switch agencies.
Yeah.
And then that's a whole nother hell.
Yeah.
So it has happened
I know that.
A few times in the last couple of years. Yeah. And usually that agency will strike a deal with another agency and have you transfer for less of a fee than if you just went to another agency. That kind of thing. But yeah. So yeah, that does matter. You just kind of hope that's,
and you can ask your agency about their license validity.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then, let's see. Oh, if you changed your name and not due to marriage, but for some other reason. And then you'll have the birth certificates of everybody in the household, including your kids. And also if you adopted internationally, like from India or from another country, you'll include that birth certificate. And if you readopted them to get a US birth certificate, you'll include that as well. But okay. All right. So if you have a name change other than through marriage, then you have to include that and why. Then you'll have birth certificates of everybody, including your children or any adults in the house. And if those need to be originals, if they're from the US especially, and you can get them certified and apostilled straight from your state. So that's not too hard.
And if your kids were born in another state, then it's going to be another state.
Yes. Yes.
Something to be aware of. Yeah.
Yes. So you have to get those. Yes. So get those ahead of time. And those won't have a date or anything. So you'll be fine.
Right.
And then copies of your both spouses' passports.
Okay.
And bye. Thank you, baby. Okay. And also a copy of your OCI card or your NRI passport is included. And then marriage certificate should be an original. Divorce decree, it should be the written court orders. If you had a spouse that passed away, then you need to see that they want the death certificate of that. And then the criminal clearances of you and your spouse and anyone that's an 18 or over, and your agency will do that. But and include that for you. So they'll send you out to go get fingerprints and everything. So they'll do that for you.
We talked about,
Yes, yeah. And then proof of residence. That's just like a phone bill or a utility bill, something that you just want it the latest, so you don't have to, something really small cause a problem. And then you'll fill out a thing that your agency will give you, just declaring your financial status, how much you guys make and how much debt, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then for each spouse, if they're working, you'll need employment verification. And this comes from your employer. And some employers they want you to say basically that you're in good standing and this is how much you make and you've worked here for so long and you're a candidate to keep your job, basically.
Yes.
Most of them won't say that part.
They want to gauge if you have secure earnings or not.
So don't worry if your employer won't say, I promise you'll have a job for the next 2 years, because how can they?
Exactly.
Most are not going to do that.
No.
So, but it can take time sometimes to go through your HR if it's a large company or something. So, and usually they need to notarize their signature if possible. So, and usually the HR department can do that, but it is just something that you have to get ahead of time and be like, can you please do this for me?
And I think we covered it also in home study video. So people who are watching also should watch that, because it's very important that you talk to your employer, and we have listed down the reasons of why. So do watch that.
Yeah, it's important. And then just a letter from your bank saying kind of the same things, that this is how long the account has been and this is how much you have. And then the last 3 years of tax returns, and then you'll have the medical reports that we talked about for home study and for your children. for everyone in the house, basically.
Yeah.
And then you will include the psychological report that you did.
Yeah.
Yep. And then proof of medical insurance, proof of coverage for your child. And that legally they have to cover you as soon as you pass court and you have the document to show them that you've passed court. Sometimes insurance companies may give you the runaround. Just I want to talk to your supervisor. No, I want to talk to your supervisor, because legally they can't not do it. But sometimes
they do try to push back on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
saving those 2 months of coverage, maybe, right?
Yes, exactly. They'll be like, well, the child's not in the US. I'm like, doesn't matter. The child's my child. So too bad. So then the reference letters and a post-adoption agreement saying that you will, in fact, do post-adoption placement reports to send back to India. Some people say, well, my child's home. I don't want to pay for it. They're not going to take my child. Well, that's really not the point. The point is to keep good relations between the countries. So future families don't have an issue. In the big scheme of things, it's another $1,500, right? And you're already paying so much just to keep relations good for the next families. I think it's really important. They legally can't make you do it, but just do it. It's a good thing to do.
I didn't know that they legally can't and you can fight against it, because I thought it was like a rule that you have to. But I also feel, yes, it's an extra hassle, but you're absolutely right.
Right. Why wouldn't you do it?
Exactly. For other families. If not for yourself, just do it for people in queue.
And especially after the Sharon Matthews case, they agencies can lose their licenses if a bunch of their clients don't do it, and that's really not fair to everybody else to not do it. So and they're good to have, because then you're talking with a social worker again, and they can give you advice, because now your child's home and stuff comes up that you don't know what to do. So it's really beneficial for you, and it's a chance to show off how great your kid's doing, or get questions on why this is happening, and so it's good for everybody.
So
I
agree.
Do them.
Do they also help with the cultural adjustment afterwards, the post-placement studies?
If you have a social worker that knows the culture, most of the time you don't have a social worker that knows the culture.
Because that's what I feel, where the main things could come. Especially for the older
it depends on the age of the kid. Yes, if it's an older child, yes. If a younger child, that's when you really need to be part of a group like ours, so we can tell you all these things. If we do a lot of education, people say, like, we had somebody ask, well, I want my child to be breastfed. I'm like, well, you can't really choose that. I mean, you have no control over what happened, and they probably won't breastfed. They'll probably fed with a spoon and a bowl, and this is how they do it, So it's good to join groups and really educate yourself on everything. Because a lot of things will be different, and nobody can help you besides you once you really get the research and find the right people to talk to. So but they'll help you with issues on trauma and all those things that every child's going to have to a certain degree. So I agree. It's important. And bonding with, usually they won't bond with both parents. They'll usually pick one, those kind of things. So,
we'll talk about it in one of,
because
it's such an important point. Yes. And we will talk about it in our future videos for sure. Absolutely.
It's important. But some more stuff, just like, a legal statement saying that yes, the child will become a U.S. citizen. Now, that has to happen anyway because of how the process works in the U.S. But they just the court still wants to hear it, basically. Adoption decree if you adopted other children before, and then their adoption post-placement reports as well. So that's another reason to do them if you think you're going to adopt again. Those have to be included in your new process. So that's important. The older children's view on adoption, that was also for the home study. We mentioned that, where you're 5 years and older say, yes, I want a sibling. And that will be, Apostille too. So, excuse me. And then if you're single, it's interesting. If you're a single female, they want a father figure letter.
Yes, but that's in India as well. I think it's exactly the same thing in India. If you're single, they ask you for the same thing for an Indian domestic adoption, so to say. So,
to prove that, there will be a male figure in this child's life.
Could be your brother, could be your father.
Yeah, it could be a friend.
It can be a friend. Someone.
And it's important to have that, obviously. But for this, it's like, okay, make sure you check that box kind of thing. It's not like they're going to come to your house and be like, where's your father figure? You know, and it's something you should think about. Obviously, it's important, but yeah.
I think that's support, you might need in future.
Yes. So, childcare arrangement letter, you know, if both of you work, okay, I'm going to take maternity leave. And after that, this is the arrangement kind of thing. Then just a document from your agency saying that we're your agency and we're following through and supervising, basically. Then the rest, all this was stuff you included beforehand. So now we're getting to the rest of the dossier.
Okay.
You will have to do a power of attorney for the basically will say, say that your agency and then also the orphanage's advocate will represent you, because most of the time you're not going to be there.
True.
And even if you do come for court, you're coming with the advocate. You're not advocating by yourself.
Right.
So there's that, and they'll need 3 of those. Then
3
you'll
of those.
need
Not copy, original.
Yeah.
3. Okay.
Yes, 3 originals. Yeah, because they get sent to different people.
Right.
Then also when you're going to fill out your I-800A, you're going to include that. You're going to get your I-800 and what's called an Article 5, which is just another part of the process, saying that this child can be adopted to the U.S. and everything. So that's the immigration part for this particular child. So that's going to need to be included.
Okay.
The child's medical report. So there's 3 things when you match with a child that you're given. There's the child study report, the CSR, the medical exam report, the MER, and the child welfare committee, CWC letter. So the first 2 are they're usually very light. Even if you have a child that has needs, it's basically says, this is when the child came in, this is what we observed. A doctor came in and said, you know, the child sits up on its own and stuff like that. If they're an oral child, they're a friendly social child, that kind of thing.
So, yeah. This
it's
is
not
this
very
is
detailed
by
usually.
This is done by SA.
Yes.
Then. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, by the orphanage. It's not very detailed, and this is your information that you get on the child, and you can try to request more. And definitely, if you need more, try to get more. You don't always get more, but this is the meat of it. This is what you get. And the CWC letter is basically saying this child has legally been declared adoptable. Right? They've already gone through the process of trying to find more of their birth
Parents
family, you know, all those things, and haven't been successful. Or the child was signed off. So those 3 things are very important. So when you accept a match, you will get sent those original papers from the orphanage from India to you and your agency, and you will sign those. You'll go through them and sign them, and that's when it's official that you're matched with the child. So you're saying, I looked at the paperwork. I want this child. I'm signing this. And so copies of that, and you'll send that back to the orphanage. So, you will notarize that and everything else and get copies of that and include that as well. And then they just want pictures of you and your family, just so they can put it in the system and also send it to the court. Then you'll also have to notarize pictures of your house, you know, to say like, this is my house.
Notarize that too. Wow.
Yes. Everything is like, I'm being honest about every little thing.
Oh my God.
So front of the house, backyard, every single room in your house, and label what it is. Like, this is going to be our daughter's room. This is her brother's room. This is our kitchen, you know, everything. And it's also nice to include local parks, that kind of thing. You don't have to go really beyond that, but it's kind of nice to include something like that. So there is, I feel like that's it.
Yeah, but that's really
a lot
long.
Of stuff.
I mean, it keeps you busy for at least 2 years for sure. Oh my goodness. The first 6-8 months with home study, and once you have done that, I-800, then you start basically just trying to understand, okay, this is and then once you're matched, it starts again. So you're waiting, like, right? You from that I-800 until now, until your match, you're basically just waiting patiently.
Yes.
And then it starts again.
Yeah. And if you're going special needs route and your agency allows you to log into Carrions and look at the different kids, you can do that. Just realize that sometimes you may be interested in a child, but there's other people ahead of you in your agency that may be interested. So tell them, and if you really feel that is your child, push and say, hey, I really want to match with this child or get more information on this child.
Okay.
And they may tell you there's a couple of families ahead of you. So it's a tough thing. And it's some people are for it and some people are against it about looking in special needs list. I personally say definitely look, because then you can see what's there, because sometimes when you're checking off the box of special needs that you're willing to look at, you may find a child in there that has something on there that you didn't agree to, but you fall in love with that child.
Yeah.
And I know plenty of people who have done that, where we didn't expect this, but we feel like this is our child.
Right.
So it's worth a look, but really realize it may be hard. It may be hard seeing all those faces that you're not going to adopt.
Yes. Great, Julia. Thanks. So what we're going to do, we will again make another Excel sheet, which you can download, and we will put it in the description below. And if you haven't, do watch home study video, because it's like a follow-up. So the two will make more sense of what kind of paperwork you should be ready with. As always, Julia, thank you so much.
Thank you. So much fun.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm requesting again all the PAPs to subscribe, like, comment.
Yes.
I mean, I'm doing it in person now this time, because when you do that, what it does for us is it tells us that we are doing the right thing. And also it tells Google that this information is helpful, so that other people who are looking for this, we will pop up. So if you think this is helpful, please just take a minute, like, comment, and share. That way,
and subscribe.
Subscribe. Yes. That way, other who are looking for it will find it. And also will be encouraging for us, I think, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
I love it. I'll keep doing it, but your support can certainly take it to the next level.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Thank you.